to the organizers for giving me a little bit of time to really raise your awareness, if it's not already raised, about a topic which I think is of existential importance for the organic sector. I might even argue that the topic of seed and the importance of seed is the biggest and most important existential challenge to the organic sector worldwide, because seed is fundamental and we are losing our genetic heritage. If we lose our ability to get good genetics, good organic seed, then it's over. The organic sector is done. So we need to find ways that we can preserve, be good stewards of that genetic material, and make it better and share it better. So, and my topic is about seeds. I'm the secretary of the IFOAM Seeds platform. You could extend this topic to animal breeds, to planting stock for trees where you're grafting, but we'll call it for genetic material, but we'll use the seed as our main model here. And think of this topic today and this talk as a seed as well, that will grow hopefully into a bigger movement. The topic of seeds and genetics is very complicated, and I'm really only going to give you some very quick, hopefully take-home messages that you can explore further after this. Where do I point this thing to? Oh, I've got the wrong one. Okay, so basically in the world right now, we have a very fundamental choice to make. Right? And there are two ways in which the model of seeds and sharing of genetic material works right now. There's the consolidation model, right? Which is multinational companies controlling the genetics of the world, essentially enslaving farmers by controlling those seeds, right? It reduces biodiversity by limiting the varieties that are out there, and it concentrates the wealth in fewer and fewer hands. It is fundamentally unfair. The other choice that we can make is to have a more distributed model, where there's more access by more farmers to more kinds of genetic material, right? Gives a sense of seed sovereignty, of control of those seeds and of the genetic material and what we do with it, in a way to increase the diversity and the quality that is more adapted to certain contexts or to certain kinds of qualities that we want, and shares the actual wealth. These are really the two models that are working right now in the world, and the consolidation one is the one which is winning right now. And at the IFOAM conference in Gyeongsang last October, at the 50th anniversary celebration, Karen Mapusua, the president of IFOAM, asked me a challenging question. She said, well, you know, Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, the CJIR just got $1 billion for their new revolution in agriculture. What do we say to that as the organic movement? And the answer is there are many more of us than there are of them. We have power in numbers in our ability to actually carry out this distributed model. And if we don't, we have to realize that in the future, there might only be two kinds of seed, genetically engineered seed or organic seed. And that's only if the organic seed survives. Now, there's going to be another talk later in this conference about GMOs and genetic engineering, so I'm not going to go into it too much right now. But suffice it to say that right now we are undergoing a new era of genetic disruption such as humanity has never seen. After this session's over, you can go out on the coffee break and the tea break, and you can go online, order gene editing equipment, have it delivered to your place of residence, and start doing it in your kitchen next week. It's unregulated, it's untested, and it is disruptively accessible. And it's unproven at this point in time. So it's something we really have to watch out for. So IFOAM does have a strategy for this. The organic sector does have a strategy, and it was passed in the General Assembly in India in 2017 as to what to do about seeds and breeding material. Basically, we need to support more organic and plant breeding and animal breeding initiatives, right? We need organically bred varieties, not just a bunch of conventional varieties which are grown on an organic farm and called organic seed. We need to breed them under organic breeding practices so that they are then adapted to organic kinds of production system. There's a good study that's been done in the United States of conventional wheat and organic wheat seed. And they take the conventional wheat seed and they grow it under organic conditions, and it does very poorly because it's not used to not absorbing synthetic NPK. And they take all the organic wheat varieties and they grow them under organic conditions, and they do very well. And then they do the opposite as well. They try to grow they try to take the organic wheat seeds and grow them conventionally, and they also don't do very well. It's like using the wrong tool for your system. So we need to have more organic seeds and more organic breeds available, right? We need to also develop strategies to protect the organic sector from contamination by these genetically engineered varieties, to avoid contamination and to make sure that there's the proper traceability in place for them. And the other thing that we need to do, which is a very organic 3.0 approach, is we need to engage with the mainstream sector to try and bring some sanity to the way in which they're doing things, so that we can protect ourselves and bring some science and some rationale to how they're doing things. We are not, as a small organic sector, going to shut down what the conventional multinational paradigm is doing, but we can do things to actually make cogent arguments to governments and to farmers to try and do things in a more realistic or safer way that protects us. So we do have a basic strategy now for seed sovereignty. And we have 4 interacting pillars for this. One is that we want to build the network of farmers and of people who are interested in organic seeds or in preserving this type of genetic material in a distributed kind of way. And it doesn't matter whether you call yourself organic or not. Again, a very organic 3.0 approach. This is a challenge if you're a smallholder farmer or you don't want to be subject to one of these multinational type of consolidation efforts. If you are interested in having some sovereignty over how you farm or how you produce food or what's involved in the production chain of the food that you're manufacturing or eating, then you need to have some say in what's going on. As long as you are interested and supportive of the principles of organic agriculture, we don't care whether you call yourself organic or not. It's whether you're making that choice to go for the distributed model as opposed to the consolidation model. So we're building a network, right, where people will be able to see who is doing what where, and they can communicate with each other, right? They can exchange ideas, they can unify messages, and we can collaborate using some common communication platforms. The other thing that we're doing is we have a policy advocacy component where we're basically trying to do the things that I talked about on the previous slide. We really protect us against incursion from contaminating genetics, to protect and promote the thriving of the organic sector, and to put more resources into organic genetic development, and to also enable us to have a better market availability for greater diversity, quantity of high quality seeds. There are laws in the world right now that make farmers, that put farmers in jail for trading seed with each other, right? There are laws in the world that say you cannot have an organic seed because you must treat it with a synthetic pesticide or a fungicide, right? So we need to advocate for enabling laws and policies which allow us to follow our mission. Another thing that we really are trying to do here is we need to have a succession plan, right? This is about you, the youth here, right? people like me soon are not going to be here anymore, and we need more young breeders, right? We need more young seed entrepreneurs. We need more people who can actually take up this business and make a living at it. I meet a lot of very young, educated, passionate, altruistic people now who want to get into organic breeding, organic seed production, and they find they can't actually make a living at it. Right? We need to enable them with enough reward to do their job so that we actually can have this as a viable occupation. So we're trying to connect researchers and breeders and people who want to get into this business to be able to have internships or connect them with mentors so that we can actually create the next generation of breeders. Right? We're also trying to, in this learning situation, trying to train regulators and certification bodies so that they know how to actually control the sector and help protect it from the risks that we have, and to enable us to actually give the market really what it is expecting from the organic sector. In addition, in terms of research, we also are trying to find new and better ways to breed, to develop things like organically compatible seed treatments, to be able to accelerate the kinds of organically compatible breeding that Professor Lur was talking about. Right? We need to make sure that they are still married to the principles, but we also need to find ways in which we allow more people to try and do it. The other thing that we're trying to create is a common market platform. One of the things that has happened in the seed and breed world is that it's all left to the seed farmer, or it's all left to the breeder. But the reality is we all depend on it. And what we need to have is interdependence throughout the value chain so that somebody can actually pull on that chain to give the seed breeder and the seed company and the farmer enough pull to actually give them the economic incentive to do it. Right? As I say, it's a value chain, and you can't push a chain, you can only pull it. Right? And so what we're looking for are companies, whether it's a seed company or whether it's a group of farmers who want a certain kind of seed, or whether it's a brand of breakfast cereal or juice that says they want to make sure that the ingredients that they're getting are actually going to be of a high organic quality. And so what we're going to do is connect all of them together, everybody in the value chain, so that they support each other, and that the value that is necessary to pay for all of the resources and the work to do it is actually there. So all four of these pillars are things that we are starting to work on in the iPhone Seeds platform, and they overlap with each other. They don't exist as silos. They really are interlocking or intersecting kinds of topics. I'm having a hell of a time. I'm not going to go in the interest of time, I won't go into all of the things that are on this slide right now. But suffice it to say, for those of you who are younger, when you develop some kind of strategy or plan, you need to figure out what it is you want to do, what are the specific things you're going to do, and how you're actually going to measure it to know whether you're actually succeeding in your plan. And so here what we've done in the platform is we've talked about the kinds of activities or outputs that we're going to have. Those will give us certain outcomes, which we will then measure and see how we're doing, to see if we actually are achieving our goals, or where we're falling short, or where we need more help. I've listed a few key resources here, and I'll talk just briefly about them. We have, I'll go actually from the bottom up, the use of seed and plant propagation material in organic agriculture. This is a position paper that was written in about 10 years ago, I think, by IFOAM Organics International, and it talks really about very basic topics about why we should be advocating for the kind of seed which is bred under organic conditions. One of the things that we're also developing right now, I should say, is that what means organic breeding is still only a very general topic. Breeding is a very detailed, highly technical skill. and it needs a lot of discussion to make sure that we can fully distinguish between appropriate breeding techniques and how far back we can trace in the system to make sure that we have truly organic seeds. Also, I would also just say at this point that being an organic farmer is a hard job. Being an organic seed farmer, that's an even harder job. Right? It needs a lot of technical expertise, and it needs some mentorship to do it. But it's possible to do, it's very rewarding, and I dare say it's the highest value crop you can have. There's a position paper on genetic engineering and genetically modified organisms. That takes us up until the recent wave of new genomic techniques on gene editing, and talks about why they don't have a place in organic agriculture. They primarily violate the principle of care, but they actually thoroughly, the way they're run, violate the principle of fairness and the principle of ecology and the principle of health. The compatibility of breeding techniques in organic systems is one of the more recent complete papers that we wrote, and what it does is a panorama of all the breeding techniques that are known now, and in which ways they are compatible with organic systems and which ways they are not. Right? Some of these are just unproven, and some of them are not going to be compatible. There are political talking points in this paper, as well as a technical breakdown of each of the different techniques that are known, from the most traditional to the most modern. This top one is the first recent output of the SEEDS platform. It's a risk protocol for these new genetic techniques. One of the things that we see right now is there are two arguments that you basically hear in the discussion. One is that all these NGTs are bad and they should never be used. And the other is they're completely safe, let's just go for it. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. We know in organic that we're not going to allow them because we've made decisions about how we evaluate these things based on the principle of care. But in the regulatory framework now, whether it's in the United States or perhaps soon to be in Europe or in many other countries right now, there is no actual risk assessment for these these gene-edited varieties. And so this safety protocol is some basic sanity that speaks to how do we actually bring some sanity to the mainstream sector, because we know that they're going to keep doing it, and we want to try and do it in a way which not only protects the organic sector, but just protects the public welfare and environmental sustainability. I think that's all I have for now. I could talk about this all week long, but I won't. I want to give you some more time to hear from my counterpart, Toto, who's going to talk about something that's actually happening on the ground with real seed production now, right? Here's somebody who's actually doing it on the ground. So thank you for listening to me, and happy to answer your questions later.